Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Building Naming Subcommittee. Tonight is Tuesday, May 25th. And we have a few items on, but I need to do a little housekeeping. And this is the following statement that must be read. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and state of emergency, on March 12, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20. Pursuant to the order, public bodies are temporarily relieved from the open meeting law's requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be held and will be accessible to the public via Brockton Community Access, BCA, Brockton Public Schools website, www.bpsma.org, YouTube and Comcast Channel 98 and 107.1 HD version. Okay, thank you very much. So, tonight's agenda. We have a few items, but let me first do the roll call vote of members present on the subcommittee. Mr. D'Agostino.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Asak.
Here.
Thank you. And myself. Present. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. First item, we have naming of the boys' track and cross-country locker room at Marciano Stadium. Do you have some information, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Minicello. So we have two recommendations. We have one from track coach and Brockton High School teacher John Fagaldo, sent back on March 8th of 2021. John is requesting that the boys' track cross-country locker room at Marciano Stadium be dedicated to Ron Wayne. He's a 1967 Brockton High School graduate, and he's a member of the Brockton High School Athletic Hall of Fame, 1972. Ron is one of the most accomplished track and cross-country alumni. In 1977, he was the top American and fourth-place finisher at the Boston Marathon. He has made thousands of dollars of donations to the Brockton High School athletics over the years, including a large donation to help purchase the new lockers in the track locker rooms. This year, he was named the Brockton High School's track teams as partial beneficiary as his estate, as he named them beneficiaries of his estate, to plan to help the teams in the future. His athletic accomplishments and commitment to working with the students is exactly what we hope all alumni strive for. So this is a request from John Fidaldo and for Ron Wayne, 1967 graduate of Brockton High School and a Hall of Famer in 1972. And then we have a second request for naming the Brockton High School track locker room from John McDonough, former longtime Brockton Public Schools and a resident educator, also was assistant principal at East Junior High at the time. So he wrote to us and the committee members to ask us to name the locker room after longtime track coach William Bill Jennings. He has a long-time accomplishments as a coach of both the indoor and outdoor track teams at Brockton High. During his tenure, his teams won multiple All-State and Class A championships, as well as Big Three championships. He shared with the student athletes as he coached with almost 200 of them were Boston Globe and Enterprise All-Scholastics. The Boston Globe and Brockton Enterprise recognized Bill's coaching talents, naming him Coach of the Year numerous times. He is a member of the Massachusetts Track Hall of Fame and the Brockton High School Hall of Fame. In retirement, Bill continues to serve the love of his sport as a judge at Eastern Massachusetts track competitions. He was a colleague and friend of Mr. McDonough's for over 50 years, and John highly recommends naming the track locker room after Bill Jennings, former coach. And he was also, Bill was a longtime, he was first teacher and a guidance counselor with the Brockton Public Schools.
So is there overlap then between the two requests?
Yeah, I mean, there's
The cross-country locker room and the track for request number 1, and then the track locker room? I assume the track locker room is one and the same as the cross-country locker room?
Yeah, well, actually, there's two. There's boys and girls. You know, so basically, it's a large locker room area. You know, so it wouldn't be an issue naming them and having signage naming it after both gentlemen.
And then, but didn't we also, didn't we name the track?
The track is named after, the actual track is named after Harry Allen.
Right.
Yep.
Because we did that a few years ago.
Yes, that was about
So
about
now-
8 years ago.
So the boys' track, is that the Harry Allen track?
Yes.
So,
These would be the locker rooms.
so the boy, so doesn't John Fidalgo as the coach know that the track's already named after?
Yeah, he's not asking for the track, he's asking for the locker room.
Oh, so it's not the boys' track, it's just the locker room.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Mr. Minicello.
Yes.
And it sounds like the answer to my question is yes, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. One letter states the locker room Marciano Stadium, the other one states the locker room at Brockton High. We are talking about the same locker room.
Same locker room, yeah.
Okay, okay. So you're suggesting that we could potentially, I mean, obviously we could pick one, or we could put a sign honoring both of them in the same space?
Absolutely, yep. I mean, I didn't, I was born in 1969, so I don't know of Ron Wayne, but I've heard what he's done and the money he's donated. I actually had Mr. Jennings as a guidance counselor at East, and I remember him and still see him from time to time, but I remember when my early years of teaching, you know, Mr. Jennings was the coach at Brockton High, the track team, and, you know, again, according to everything I heard about Mr. Wayne, and everything I've heard and know about Mr. Jennings, they're two perfect gentlemen that, you know, have done a lot for kids. And I know when Bill coached, I mean, even like now, there were hundreds of kids that participated in track, like the teams they have now. So,
Right, so we built a good program.
yeah, and again, it's a full, you know, there's a track side of the, you got the football part of the locker room, then you have the track side of the locker room. There's both
Okay.
for boys and girls.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Ms. Azak, would you like to chime in or give your opinion?
Some of the questions I had were already answered, but as far as both of them, I mean, probably both on the same plaque, like Mr. DiAgostino had mentioned. I mean,
Well, I guess, I don't think we've ever done that. I mean, put two different people on the same plaque. So before, I would suggest that we have a conversation and do a little bit more, I guess, due diligence before we approve this. Because, I mean, I think I'd want to know if there's more information that we need to
Well-
determine that, A, both parties, both people, and when I say parties, I mean, there's going to be a group, there's usually more than just one person. There's, you know, groups of people supporting the different suggestions, honorees. So I guess I would like to, you know, have a conversation to see, in fact, if there's going to be any hard feelings on either side, you know, before we decide, oh, yes, we're going to put two names on the same locker room.
And Melinda, I think the process is we would have a public hearing before it's actually approved by the full committee. So we would have the people that are supporting each one come and speak.
Okay. I mean, I think, yeah, there's strong arguments for both. Mr. Jennings as a coach clearly made, meaningful contributions, and obviously we know how important a good coach is. You said he ran a great program that a lot of kids wanted to participate. Then on the other side, we have, a student who was in the program at a different point in time, but who also has been generous to the program since leaving too. So two very well-qualified, strong, candidates for this, which, it's tough to try to.
Right, and I'm not saying that we're not open to exploring, the possibilities of a joint plaque, or joint naming, but I think that we should have a conversation with people. I mean, we can schedule this, so basically the next step would be to schedule this for a public hearing.
Yep, we would do it before the
and,
school committee meeting.
All right, and then if I could get the phone numbers for both, well, let's see, well, I can call Mr. Fidalgo, and, yeah, I think I need the phone number for Mr.
Yeah, we'll get
Donna.
those for you.
That would be great. Okay, so I guess what we'll do then is the next step would be to move it to a motion for a public hearing. Would that be the next appropriate step?
Yep.
I mean, I have a quick question. Is this the first time we have run into this, where they're looking to dedicate, the same location for two different people?
In
I've never
14 years
seen
I've been
this.
on the committee, yes, but maybe prior to that. could
Okay, 'cause I was
have.
gonna say, this is the first for us.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't
didn't know
think
if there
that-
was a reason why all of a sudden we have two separate requests that came before us at the same time
For the locker room.
for the locker room. So,
Is it just coincidental, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, Billy, they've talked about for a long time, and it was actually debate at the time whether the track should be named after him, and then that was never put forward, and obviously Harry Allen was, rightfully so, the track was named after Harry Allen, so,
All right.
All right, well, we'll schedule it for a public hearing. Well, we have to take a vote to do that, so. Would someone like to make a motion, I guess, with respect to both recommendations for Mr. Wayne and Mr. Jennings?
Motion to have a public hearing regarding the naming of the boys track, motion to have a public hearing regarding the boys track cross-country locker room at Marciano Stadium / Brockton High.
second,
I think you need to put both names in the motion, too.
Oh, do I have to put both names in?
It's identify the two people.
All right. Then I shall amend my motion to be that we have a public hearing regarding the naming of the boys' track / cross-country locker room at Marciano Stadium / Brockton High, to consider naming the locker room after either Ron Wayne or Bill Jennings,
And/or both.
and/or both.
second,
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Mr. DiAgostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
yes.
and I vote yes as well. Okay. We move on to naming of the stage inside Brockton High School Nelson Auditorium.
So this is similar. We have a letter from one city resident, Carla Flamini, made out to Mayor Sullivan, myself. I'm writing to request that the stage inside Brockton High School's Nelson Auditorium be named in honor of Brockton High School alumni Carol Thomas and Vincent Macrina. Their dedication and years of service to the drama and music programs has had a immeasurable impact on students in the entire Brockton community. With the upcoming celebration of 50 years of musicals, the community will again be able to see a piece of the award-winning program that was so instrumental in shaping over their careers at Brockton High School. Thank you for your consideration, Carla Flamini.
What's interesting about this, though, is the one person is recommending both people, as opposed to two different entities, looking for individuals, the individual naming. Mr. DiAgostino? Any comments, or?
Well, again, we're in a tough spot. I mean, the request, I guess this is different because it's not two competing requests. It's
Yeah,
one
I don't think we're in a
request
tough spot at all with this one.
for both.
This
So
is
I
the
guess,
one
no,
person,
it's
yeah.
not, yeah, because they're not, because we're not in a tough spot because they're not competing requests, I guess. It's one request from the same person. So yeah, I think it would make sense if, with that difference, it seems like we could go forward and do both. Is that correct?
Well, we would have another public hearing to consider the request, but what makes this one a little different and unique is that the one person who's recommending is recommending both people.
Right.
Now, you could get at a public hearing a group of people that come in and say that this recommendation is great, appropriate, fine, or you could get people that say, well, I think something should be named after one and something named after the other. I don't know what the public hearing is going to,
Of
show.
course.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the public, and that's the beauty of the public hearing, just to get people's
Right.
opinions. So, but what's unique is that, the one person's recommending both entities, and both, certainly we know the history of both individuals, wonderful history here in the high school. We've all witnessed the great work that they've done with kids. I mean, the commitment, both of these people, so we certainly know that both people are worthy of something being named after them.
Right.
The question will be how the public feels about, two names on the stage, and maybe the public will be fine with it, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out at the public hearing,
Given the importance of the contributions
if
both
we decide
parties
to go
made.
that route.
Right, given the contributions that both parties
Yeah.
made to the school, I would suspect, most people would feel pretty good about that, but we
Yeah.
will see. So,
Ms. Azak, any opinion, or?
No, honestly, I think that's probably the best route to take, especially where Ms. Flamini, Flamini had requested both of them,
Yeah.
rather than the first request that we had for two separate requests that came in. But, again, it's they're deserving of this recognition. And it would be nice to see what we could do for them. So definitely probably put them on that list for the public hearing.
Okay, so then how about you make a motion to move this request to name the stage inside Brockton High School's Nelson Auditorium on behalf of BHS alumni Carol Thomas and Vincent Macrina.
Okay. So motion to move this request to a public hearing with regards to naming the Nelson Auditorium stage, I believe,
Yes?
to honor alumni Carol Thomas and Vincent Macrina.
second.
Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call vote, Mr. DiAgostino?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, we move that one on. Next item, naming of the driveway leading to the Kennedy School. Mr. Thomas?
Thank you. The Kennedy School is in the process of planning events to honor late Principal Brian Rogan and his significant contributions to the Kennedy School and the community. We would like to recommend to name the long driveway leading to the school Rogan's Way. They're planning on having a sign. We would ask the city to approve it, or the school committee to approve it, so they could put the street sign there in the driveway. We're asking for the help of getting approval for this. They do not have a date yet for the ceremony, obviously, because it has to be approved. But they will be celebrating now that we can get back and do some celebrations in person. They are planning on doing other things to celebrate the life of Brian Rogan, and that includes the work they've been doing to the courtyard, with the generosity and the hard work of Jerry Cassidy, Representative Jerry Cassidy. He was able to get $10,000 allocated to the Kennedy School to help do the work in the courtyard. I know Mr. DiAgostino has been working closely with Principal Camello and the school, and helping them get other contributions to get that courtyard. And obviously, I'll let Mr. Diagostino speak for himself, but I appreciate his efforts as well. The courtyard, the work that's been done in there already is great. And it's going to be beautiful. So The courtyard's going to be the Rogan courtyard, and then obviously the road leading in has to be obviously brought to the committee to be named. So there you have it.
Okay, well, I'm going to let Mr. DiAgostino take the lead on this. Mr. DiAgostino, I defer to you.
I appreciate that. Well, as everybody knows, I mean, not only the Kennedy School being in Ward 3 in my ward, but also being a former Kennedy Cougar myself who had Mr. Rogan as a teacher, this is personally, you know, just something that matters and is important to me personally, but I know that the entire Kennedy School community you know, supports this and wants to honor Mr. Rogan, who did so much for so many kids from the early 1980s up till last year. And, you know, and I have to thank Principal Camello. She, you know, reached out to me. They have a tentative date, but I know it's tentative, so I don't want to publicly state it at this point. But, you know, she asked if I would be willing to speak, and of course I consider that an honor. To be able to do that. But at any rate, I feel like this is a no-brainer. There's only one request, which does make that pretty simple, but also, you know, I mean, how do you, I can't even think of the numbers of children's lives that have come through this city and Kennedy School that Brian Rogan had a positive impact. And I know he's not the only principal or teacher in our city that's had that kind of an impact, but you know, unfortunately, he was taken from us all too soon, and while serving that community still. And so I am going to make the motion that that we name the driveway leading to the Kennedy School Rogan's Way.
I just have a quick question before we approve that. So it's the driveway. So do they need to go before traffic, or we can just go ahead and name it? It's a driveway, it's not a public road.
Public road goes off.
Because it says we're waiting for the city to approve it. Does the city need to? Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to go before traffic or anything.
No, the road goes off to the right where that house is.
Yeah.
That's the apartment. We're not naming that apartment.
Right.
Apartments will be
There's
out
that
further.
split off that,
Yeah.
yeah. And we did ask, and this seems like a good time to mention this too. The mayor was here earlier and had to be at another meeting at 6 o'clock, so he wasn't able to stay with us for the entire evening. But he did look these over, and he did ask me to state publicly that he fully supports, you know, all of these, you know, agenda
Requests.
items, all of these requests. So, and you know, obviously regretted that he wouldn't be able to stay for the discussion on these, but you know, as we know, the mayor's role often involves being in 5 places at once, so he does the best he can. But he did say that we did talk to him about whether that was city-owned and did it need to go to traffic. He didn't think it did either.
So, I mean, once we approve it, then they can just go ahead and order the sign and go
No,
ahead?
it goes to a public hearing still. We
Oh,
have
it
to
does?
move it to
Okay.
public hearing, then the whole school committee.
We'll do it, okay. I
we
mean,
have to,
it's,
yeah, we recommend, just like any subcommittee, we recommend to the school committee
To go
after the
back.
public hearing, you know.
to do
I mean,
it.
I'm not talking about this specific request. The process is, just to inform the public, the recommendation comes in, the subcommittee discusses it. The subcommittee could say, no, this person we know is not the appropriate person to be named for something, and we could kill it right at that moment, or we can say, you know what, we'd like to continue this, we'd like to get a little more information before we recommend going to a public hearing, or now I think we all know the worthiness of the people, you know, that we've discussed this evening. So we're comfortable moving it to a public hearing and on to the next stage, and then, you know, the public will give their opinion, and then if the public is good and we feel good about, then we recommend it on to the school committee, and then the school committee as a body, we vote on it, and then it gets the blessing, and then we can order signs and things like that, yeah.
I mean, are they looking to do this before the end of the year, or by fall, or just time-wise, what are they looking at?
They're doing other activities
Yeah, they're working on the courtyard and going to do a dedication there, and I think that's the thing that's coming up in June that has a
Okay.
tentative date. Obviously, you know, I think this is probably, and I'm sure they know, and I'll be sure to relay it, that this is a little bit longer of a process. We probably won't, I don't see how we could have this done in the next 15 days. I mean, would it be
Yeah.
nice so people came to the courtyard dedication and saw Rogan's Way there? Yeah, that'd be wonderful, but I think unfortunately sometimes the bureaucracy of government is such that it's just not going to happen that quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, by the time, well, I mean, I understand the process, but I just want to know what the urgency was and if there's a time frame that they're trying to meet. I mean, this is an amazing way to, Mr. Rogan, and it's a wonderful tribute, and this is a way to just, always have his legacy just live on for years to come. My two nieces went to Kennedy. I used to always look forward to, Kennedy Day, which is, I wonder if they're having that this year. It's usually this week or early next. But
know if
for
they're-
years, we'd always go to that, and it was always wonderful.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so definitely, so there's no urgency to get this to the committee as a whole? No urgency at
I
all?
don't think we could, even
No,
if
no,
there
I'm
was,
just
we
making
couldn't.
sure
But
this-
they'll have other things planned for the day.
Sure, okay,
It won't stop that day from happening or anything like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, no.
So there's a motion on the table. Someone needs to second it.
second.
Okay, any further discussion?
On the motion, I would be remiss if I didn't add, I mean, how many principals do we have that have been seen kissing a pig?
Okay,
I mean, anyway, sorry.
all right. And one quick thing, I just point out that Janice Byer, former school committee member in Ward 3, loved Brian Rogan. Never was there a day she didn't say something nice about how kind, sincere, thoughtful. She loved that Principal Rogan. So if Janice was here, she would absolutely endorse this and go along with this. So I mentioned her because she was a good person and was a great teacher in the city and loved the Kennedy School and the Kennedy family. So on that, anything else? Anyone else want to comment on the motion?
Well, you mentioned Janice Byer, and, again, she was a teacher there when I was a student there a long, long time ago. And since you brought her up, it doesn't surprise me that the two of them had a good relationship and all of that, because she was certainly one of the teachers that you hoped you got assigned. I never did. But every student knew her, and we all liked her, and I didn't, fortunately, although I had very good teachers, but I did not have the pleasure of having her as a teacher. But I know every student there knew her and liked her, so.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. D'Agostino on the motion.
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Yes. All in favor? Passes, moves on to public hearing. Is that any other business? Seeing no other business. A motion to adjourn, someone?
Second?
Okay. All in favor? Mr. D'Agostino?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned. We move on to policy. Mark, that is your realm,
We'll take
correct?
like 2 minutes in between.